Hey guys, it's Holly, and today I have a video that I didn't ever think was gonna happen again, and that is a Hogwarts MOC update. So if you guys didn't know, I'm currently in the process of removing all of my playsets out of my Harry Potter display and even just my Lego display in general, which means a lot of my Hogwarts MOC is actually going into storage. But something I've always really wanted is Lego common rooms, and something I've said the moment since these newer sets came out is that they just seem perfect for MOC building. They're so simple, they're so easy, you literally just rip out the interior and design your own, and I thought I should probably give it a crack and actually try out making some of the common rooms. So that's exactly what I've done, and I'm here to show you guys today. Currently at the moment I've only been able to do two, that being the Gryffindor common room as well as the Hufflepuff common room, because at the moment I feel like I just don't have enough parts. Ideally for Slytherin, I want to create it in sort of like the basement, in like the dungeons and all of that. So I feel like I'd have to sort of rip out the slide from the Chamber of Secrets or something like that. And I'm also planning on buying another bathroom set so that I can use the interior for that. And then I get sort of characters and robes and pieces that I'm actually going to use. But for now, I've managed to do two. So the top section is the Gryffindor common room, which from the exterior, you might be able to tell is actually made out of Fluffy's Encounter, which was definitely the easiest to remove the interior out of. And then the bottom one was a bit more difficult, and that one is my Hufflepuff common room. And that is actually the Defense Against the Dark Arts classroom from the Chamber of Secrets set. Now the Hufflepuff common room in particular, I basically took everything out of the one I had already done and put it into this and sort of updated it, added more detail, and honestly, it's my favorite out of the two, so let's have a look. So just to make it easier as well, I have stacked them both on each other, and there are the two common rooms. Just to sort of flesh it out as well, I have added some figures into the scene just to make things look a bit more lively, including Crookshanks. And as you'll see, pretty much the entire structure, for the most part, has stayed the same. In the Hufflepuff common room, I did get rid of one of the archways because I wanted to have this really nice fireplace and sort of mix it up. And I was tempted to do that with Gryffindor too, but I thought I probably shouldn't copy the layout, so I put the fireplace at the back. So let's rip them apart and actually have a look at these. So starting off, we have my home house, which is Gryffindor, which I've currently put myself in there, as well as Ginny Weasley sitting on the couch. And when I sort of rip them both out, you can have a tiny bit of a better look at the common room itself. Just for a little bit of extra decoration for now, I've sort of left Crookshanks in there, but I'll take her out. And as you can see, it's pretty simple. Honestly, I kind of struggled. I would have loved to have some sort of like chalkboard, because I know that that's in the Gryffindor common room, and I really wanted to utilize that chess piece from the original Harry Potter advent calendar, since I'm pretty sure there is a chessboard in the Gryffindor common room, as well as these really nice house flags, which is one of my favorite elements actually of that advent calendar. I thought it looked incredibly slick. But otherwise, I feel like this right-hand side is incredibly empty. Part of me was tempted to try and add a chair here. I'm thinking about maybe adding some sort of rug or just more wall decoration, maybe filling in some of these Technic pieces, having things hanging off the sort of ceiling, because otherwise it just feels incredibly plain to me, which I feel like I can do a bit more. But sort of moving on to the other side, there is a tiny bit more. Let me take out this little table first, and you can get a better look at the fireplace, which is actually just ripped straight out of my old Gryffindor common room, which the build itself is inspired by the 2010 Hogwarts castle. And this time around, I've actually swapped out the flag, considering I have sort of these dark red accents being on this little couch build, which I'll show you in a second, as well as these like half done sort of banners. This was a very last minute touch, but I feel like it really needed it considering how bare the walls are in the Gryffindor common room. So I'm really glad I did, even though the actual logo for Gryffindor now is sideways. At the bottom of the fire pit as well, there are two studs to sort of give it a bit more life to the flame. And in that back corner, you'll see there's a tiny little table. And this table actually has a tiny cookie on it, as well as a gold goblet, and is just standing up on a round 1x1. And next to it, we have this red armchair, which I actually finished building today. I didn't even know that I had all of the pieces for this. This was incredibly lucky. I sort of had this half-built armchair, which was heavily inspired from memory, I'm pretty sure from the one from Hagrid's Heart. And I've just used a bunch of dark red pieces because I feel like it matches the Gryffindor sort of aesthetic a bit better than bright red, and I'm really glad I did. The back part is literally just built up of plates because I didn't have any dark red bricks, and then I've added the curved top just to make it look a tiny bit better. And then because you've got the two sort of studs there, you can have a character sit there. If they do have long hair though, they might not quite fit. However, if I take Ginny, or at least my mock-up version of Ginny who's currently got mid-legs, she fits really nicely in there because you can sort of fold her legs and it still gives you tons of room for her hair there as it sort of just hits the back a tiny bit. But considering the Gryffindor common room has a bunch of really nice looking couches, I'm glad I could put this in here. And it actually just sticks onto two studs on here and sort of half sticks out through that archway there, which I don't necessarily mind all that much. It sort of gives you just a tiny bit more extra floor space because the studs are leaning into the wall itself. Then in front of that, I added this really simple table, which is just a reddish brown plate with two of those sort of modified dark orange bits at the bottom. And then to decorate it on the top, I actually used one of these hourglass pieces, which I forgot I had ordered off Bricks and Pieces, and I was sort of looking through my minifigure accessories drawer. I found it. I also added a teacup just because I really wanted to clutter this table. And then sort of hanging half off the edge, I've got one of my open up Marauders map pieces, considering in the 2010 Hogwarts, there was actually just one of those regular map pieces to sort of reference the Marauders map. So I thought that would be a pretty neat inclusion, and that just sticks right there. I'm tempted to kind of take out these tiles and add some more plates just to give me a tiny bit more extra floor space. But at the moment, I didn't mind all too much. Now, also in this set, there was one 6x6 plate on the side there. So what I've had to do is add a 2x6 here and another 6x6 plate in order to get rid of the Fluffy's trap door. Now, if you look really closely at it, it means that there's sort of less roof space on the Gryffindor common room, considering it's raised up by one plate, but I don't necessarily mind all too much. It just means it's a tiny bit weak in the middle, and I might see if I can get another plate just to sort of reinforce that center bit there. But otherwise, I'm really happy with how it's turned out so far. I just really want to add some more wall decoration and just sort of zhuzh it up a tiny bit more and make it a bit more interesting, because when I look at my Hufflepuff common room, I just feel like there's a lot more going on. Now, the Hufflepuff common room honestly was the most fun to create. I feel like Hufflepuff just opens so many doors, being like the house of herbology. I always think back to playing Harry Potter years 1 through 4 and just running through that room in the game, and there was just plants everywhere, and that is what I've really tried to do here. So let me take out the two figures and give you a better look. Even in the last mock, the Hufflepuff common room was my favorite, and just having that extra floor space meant I could do so much more this time around, but it also meant that I had to do a lot more modifications specifically to this back area. So in the actual Chamber of Secrets set itself, it has sort of a portrait of Lockhart here, which was just well in the way, and I really didn't want it there. And one of my favorite parts of my old Hufflepuff common room was sort of this nook in the wall that had a bunch of plants. So I really had to sort of strip it all and modify it, and it was quite hard to do that in order to get the sort of archways to match up. So I sort of had to sneak it by adding some more slope pieces a bit earlier down, which means there's like a tiny bit of gappage at the back, but from the front and even the inside, you can't really tell all that much. So I think I did a really good job of sort of covering that up and making it sort of look, for at least from the outside, as similar as I could to the old model. Another thing I modified was taking out the archway, because I really wanted to include this fireplace, which was a part of the, I think it was the first advent calendar, or maybe it was the second, and I'm really glad I did, because again, I feel like all of that extra wall space gave me more sort of area to play around with. Now, originally in this portion of the common room, there was a Christmas wreath here, since it was from the advent calendar, and sort of as a last minute decision, I decided to strip it off and actually put on these leaves, which I decorated with a bunch of flowers and vines, and I even added a vine to the very top of sort of that really nice architecture piece, just to add some more greenery, which I'm a really big fan of. There's also a little pot plant, which is just sort of stripped bare at the back there, as well as one of those sort of seaweed pieces. And then on the top of the fireplace, we have some flowers, as well as a candle, because I feel like it gets quite dark there. But otherwise, the build for the fireplace is pretty much exactly the same, but because of that angle, it's sort of got this weird gap here, which I did want to leave just so that it matched up better once you sort of stack other buildings on top of it. And I don't mind all too much, because it was quite easy to sort of work around, considering I had to add a bunch of plates into the side of the wall in order for it to sort of get level. There's sort of 2 plates stacked on top of each other here, as well as a 1x3 there, and I think it worked pretty well, and I'm really happy with it. Moving on down, I've got the same couch build that I had before, which was incredibly simple. Honestly, doesn't use that many pieces. And again, a figure can sit there as well. I've sort of got a half-built rug because I don't have another 1x4 in that light yellow. I just thought it made it a bit more interesting sort of coming forward because there was a lot of empty space at the front of this common room. And I just feel like that little bit of a rug is a tiny bit better. I might even try and put like a plate in the middle and have sort of tiles on the other side just so that someone can stand on it and sort of mix it up, almost like they do with the modular sets, but I'm not too sure at the moment. Then in the center, as I sort of said earlier, you have that little nook which has got some flowers at the bottom as well as a vine on this side and another flower hanging from the wall. And then I've got this tiny little desk here next to the Hufflepuff version of those house banners because, like I said, I absolutely love them. And this lamp is actually taken from the astronomy tower off Slughorn's desk, and I've just sort of stuck it to the side as well as putting one of those letter pieces there. And originally it was just going to be the table, but I kind of liked having it a bit more like a desk, and I realized I had space to actually put a chair in there, which I think just makes it look a bit better. Next to it as well, I've just chucked one of those like little lamp pieces that Hannah Abbott was carrying from the student packs. And then at the front, I've got another one of those pot plant pieces just to sort of give this room a lot of depth and dimension and really fill out all of the space rather than just the back. And then because like I said, there's a lot of sort of plants in Hufflepuff, I've added some more sort of hanging from the ceiling as well as sticking off the archways just to, again, give it so much more depth and dimension in this build. And I really like how I've utilized the space. Honestly, this is some of my proudest work. It's very simple. It honestly reminds me just of Sims decorating, and that's honestly my favorite thing to do in a mock is just decorate interiors because it reminds me of The Sims. I'm not so good at building exteriors and actual models, but decorating, I feel like I've got it down. And then because of their design, you can stack them next to each other and sort of have them all connecting. You can also still stack them on top of each other and just really simply integrate them into this year's Hogwarts system, which I really like. As much as I don't have much of that system on display, I feel like I could just sort of have this tower, put some of the roof pieces on the top, and that's about it. That's really all I need. I honestly feel like the fluffy roof is the best for just having simple little sort of vignettes like this because it's sort of got those candles at the top as well as the bit of a sloped roof. But I'm really excited and proud about this, and I really want to try and make space for it either on my display or in a different cabinet or even just on my desk because I think it looks really cute, especially filled out with different characters and things like that. But let me know what you think of these builds, and let me know as well if you've actually tried out mocking or even modifying, I feel like it's a better word for it, this newer system. Because I've said before, I feel like it's going to be really easy to do, and I've sort of proven that to myself by actually trying it out and giving it a shot. And if you guys enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel down below. And until next time guys, I'll see you later.